Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Scoops. And today, you'll be getting some comfort food when rain a fall, Richie? I don't know about you still. My comfort food when rain a fall is some nice hot cocoa tea and some fried dumpling. Some saltfish fritters.
So like a comfort breakfast.
No man, a food brethren when rain a fall from all 5 o'clock in the morning on all of the zinc roof there. Yo, it's unlike Florida when if your house properly insulated, you don't even know if rain a fall till you're ready for leave.
True that, you know. But anyway, today is Sunday. And
if it's Sunday, it is
Sunday Scoops.
Yeah man.
And today we are gonna feature a man by the name we just called a while ago. Cocoa tea.
Yeah,
not Cersei tea, you know, not coffee tea, not busy tea. Not mint tea. Not fever grass tea. Cocoa tea.
A man who was born 3rd of September 1959, and he was christened Calvin George Scott.
Over time, him take on the name.
I don't think anybody in Jamaica knows that him named Calvin.
Scott. Well, I tell you the truth. It is in the course of the research that, because I just
know him as Cocoa
tea. Yeah.
I just figure some parents come from country, so they must call him Cocoa tea, and I realize they have a proper government name.
Yeah, but you know, a really tremendous vocalist. Difficult to say we can find. And today we're gonna just peel back the windows on his career and share some of the music that Cocoa Tea has regaled us with thus far.
I'm talking about peeling back the onion, Richard. From last week, yeah, cooking peel onion from last week. But here is a song done by Cocoa Tea in 1974 at the tender age of 14 years old. Searching in the hills. Searching to find a hit. But Richie, this song was written and produced by the man who had written Oh What a Minute, a brother named Sang Hugh. And he has 2 hits. Well, most of them 2 hits that was really jukebox hit, because in 1973, Rasta No Banya and No Portion of Gal.
I think they formed a little group, if I remember.
Yeah, man, Rockydonians.
The Rockydonians. They said at the time the Clarendonians were already in existence, so them never had any choice. And so the Rockydonians became the name. It don't look like them did more than one. It looked like the road was rocky, because nobody really heard of them after that. And in fact, that one song that they did, that we hear Cocoa Tea on at the time.
As a lead singer.
Yeah, the song was actually issued under his government name. It wasn't issued as a Rockydonian.
It was
issued as Calvin Scott.
Yeah.
But his full government name, to use your term, was Calvin George Scott. And raised by his mother, because his old man had kind of skedaddled out early.
Yeah, I think I
from
kind
the
of
USA.
did a misnomer before.
Mm-hmm.
The song was produced by Willie Francis, who had written and sang Oh What a Minute. The guy who wrote Searching for the Hills was Keith Morgan.
Sang Hugh.
Called Sang Hugh. And he had those 2 songs that I mentioned. Portion of Gal and Oh What a Minute. A real country.
You have a portion of Gal. You're going like your portion of Gal.
Yeah, man.
And then the song too was done at Channel 1 studio. It was the early days of Channel 1. And 1974. Mm-hmm. And of course, it according to the scribes, it featured, it had the input of Flabba Holt. But the song basically disappeared.
Well, me find it and I just play it. So.
They say after they put out the one song, the song virtually disappeared. Yeah. And the group really never went anywhere per se.
So like somebody said, boy Jackson, I don't like that tune.
So like say Jackson, where you come to mash up my business.
But interestingly though, the songs I found, I think there was 2 versions of it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they were posited by people who lived in Latin or Central America. So
The one I found was issued in Canada. The actual.
no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the post.
The posting.
YouTube,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Yeah,
So the Central American, Latinos, South America, they're one of the largest consumers of reggae music.
it's a market which is something, I remember having a conversation with Dr. Chana and Colin Chana. We talked about the broadening of the market for the music. It's just that we tend to pay more attention to North America
Yes.
and Europe without realizing that there are a whole heap of other places out there.
Incidentally, as I said, I took the newest winner of American Idol. He chose his as for his winning. The song he sang was a reggae. He's from Hawaii. I think he has Hawaiian roots.
But
And when you go to Hawaii, it's mostly reggae music. As a matter of fact, I played at a party last night up in Riviera Beach. And when you walk in the hotel, all I heard was Barry Salmon and Dennis Brown, because they had to give that island Caribbean feel on the beach. So we're the only ones who are not really following the music.
and that is what is, if you will, in the early days, it was the diaspora that really helped with the movement of the music around the world, and it's clear that we're not really investing as much. But back to Coco T, he, after this one song, he basically determined that the group that they had formed wasn't going anywhere. No, just as you pointed out, apparently other
Hit the
studios had
rocks.
started to talk about, like Jackson, what you do? No come to mash up the business.
Yeah, man.
Go home, man. Come back next year or 2 years time. And so, Coco T went back, or Calvin as he would have been called at the time, went back to Clarendon. Rocky Point is where
Yes.
they come from.
And if anybody know Rocky Point is a popular beach village.
Fishing village.
Yes, so for them song and that group, Hit the Rocks, that one got beached.
like a big pampas, you just come up and can't go back out. But I'm talking about beach and pampas and things, because essentially that's what he did. He went back
He
to
went
play
fishing.
fishing village, and he went back to a little farming and fishing and so
And
on.
that didn't work out.
And he, when that tour wasn't producing anything, he decided to start to follow the sound systems that were
Oh
coming.
man, the man came and a spark.
Oh yes, we became was trying to be a jockey. How could I forget that? Yes. No, Coco T is not exactly a tall man, and not so
it's-
small
It's
neither.
what you call diminutive. in nature.
Yeah, so I think his size would have kind of prompted him to try out the track. But
Imagine the base weight, the highest weight it can be to be a jockey is 135, 137 if you squeeze it.
137 if you just eat lunch.
125 is an ideal weight, and that's probably soaking wet stuff.
Well, it don't look like the jockey thing did work out for him either.
No.
And him said he decided say something, go back a Rocky Point again. But him a lot of sound systems start to come through the area, and he always thought of himself as a man who could write songs, and so that was always his intention, to be a songwriter. And of course, him start to go around the sound system, and them come sound and play, and it was the era when I wouldn't call them, there wasn't DJs, when singer try them on the microphone. And Coco T realized, boy, but this can work, He had a good enough voice, he said he had a range, and I think a vocal range. Plus, biggest thing is that him can change in key, right?
Adaptability.
Right, so what happened is, any record the man put on the turntable, once him grab the microphone, him have the ability to change key, so he was more than able to perform on the song.
Yeah.
And then, beyond that, him say, the other thing that he realized, in that kind of environment, you don't want to go up on them sound and sing a next man's song.
No, you want
Right.
to sing your own thing.
So he decided to, it basically quickened his pace and is invested in more time into writing lyrics for the sound clashes, and he writing his own material, and of course that kind of put him in a good stead. Him say, boy, some big sound used to come through the Rocky Point era, Metro Media, Socialist Roots, yeah, Sturgav, you call them all of the big sound them say pass through there. Metro Media, Kilimanjaro, Black Harmony, a big sound them there,
Yeah, man.
right? And them say them sound they come with a whole heap of established artists.
That's about Charlie Chaplin, Joseph Wales,
Yeah, man.
lecturer, all of them guys.
Come to Peter Metro, the whole of them, and they say when him grab the microphone, theme objective is to put paid to them, and he did just that.
But here what happened now, Richie? He ventured again and did another song, for the Marty Robbins, Bigg Island.
Oh, yes.
And when the producer, the guy at the radio station, tell him,
Him say, a sound, when him say the soup,
the song sound like a bitter
it's
thirsty.
like a bitter surcity. And the man said, the man dash on the record,
Let me give you a taste of Bigg Iron, because again, I unearthed that one. 1980. Yeah, that Bigg Iron failed miserably, in my estimation.
The song itself wasn't...
It was a big song.
The song was big. I think it was a case of timing for that. Because that song, I listening to the song the other day.
The tempo was a little bit.
It's a little slowish, yeah.
But then, Richie, at 65 BPM, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, that was the average speed of most of the songs, Because man wanted the cool and deadly and then
But some DJ take the rhythm and rework the rhythm too, and they did, the rhythm produced a couple of songs that were worthy. I think the radio announcer, radio DJ just never liked Coco at all. Yeah?
No, dollars never run.
It has to be, because Marty Robbins sang in the 1970s. That had a lick, Marty Robbins. So if you turn that in a cowboy song, in the town of Allafree rode a stranger one fine day on song.
Richie, yeah, man. Marty Robbins.
Didn't talk to folks about him, didn't have too much to say.
Well,
Yes, and so Coco T, he never did too bad with the tune. I think the radio DJ, just never too in him. Or as you say, no dollars now run. And if Coco T was a man of less mental fortitude, him could have gone around and they catch you with a piece of rope, You think so? Eh? Because enough.
Can you imagine? You sing, never reach nowhere. You go back to farming.
No
Never pan out.
Fishing.
You go back to fish.
No jockeying.
But ride a horse.
No go on. And you come back in the studio thing again, and the man say, Jackson, I would tell you say you can't sing. Eh? And then, again, fortitude and the desire to prove yourself.
Yeah, well,
That is what Coco T was not lacking.
The old man left him and his mother raised him, so
Yeah.
she going to instill some fortitude in him.
Well,
Get 40 slaps at him.
but him say one other thing too, is that as a youth growing up, because by the time I'm pushing them 16 and 17-year-old,
Yeah, man.
and him realized that him have to bring something on the house because the old lady alone couldn't carry everything, So I think that is what he kind of stuck to, and by the time he kind of hit stride with the sound system, he found himself. So what happened to him? That brethren who him and him the brethren have a girlfriend named Sonia, and him say the brethren and the chick look like a war broke out between the two of them, and him as a man will know them, him take the experiences that them have and put it in a song, and that song,
1983/84.
But that before him
the
even
sound system was
on the sound system, it was in the
volcano, high power.
and him
John
seven
Jalal's sound system that.
when him dropped that on the sound system on John Jalal's sound, him say all DJ,
Can you
all
imagine,
singer.
man? At that point, Richard, you're talking about ranking tie, Little John,
Clint Eastwood,
Louis Lepke,
Yeah.
Lee Van Cleef. No. DB song.
and
thing.
don't leave out our boy, with
Yellow
Josie
Man.
Wales.
And Yellow Man.
And Yellow Man
Because
had come
Junjo
through at the
in
time.
1983.
Yeah.
Yellow Man was
Yellow
part
Man was-
of the Junjo last stable.
Absolutely. And Coco, because this was the sort of the beginning of what would now become the modern dancehall period. And Coco T, plus at the time, in addition to those guys who you call it, you have people like when Barrington Levy will come through,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You had quite a couple of other singers. Frankie Paul was just coming through. So it is clear that whatever it is that he was doing, he had kind of now created a niche for himself. Because I'm saying, when they played at one of them dance on a Rocky Point, apparently the same Charlie Chaplin and them and them said, boy, you need to come at town. Town you need for that.
And
Because,
you can meet Junjo.
yeah, and say, come at town, come meet Junjo. And him say them go around a Junjo, it must go around a Junjo yard. And
So is that Myrie Avenue?
Myrie Avenue, right. And him say, Junjo say, I remember hear the tune that you talk about. And him man say him start bus last persona and Josie Wales give out, no sir. Any man we can make me a dance and a music now play. Just by singing. Them man they off the bus. And him said, Junjo carry him up a Harry J studio. And the rest, as we know it, is history. And we're going to peel back that history with some of the tunes. They recorded a number of tunes with at Harry J. Rocking Dolly, Informer.
Who are the champion?
Who are the champion? Yeah, man. Big tune. And we going to run a couple of them tunes there. And
we're back. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome to another episode of Sunday Scoops. And today we're talking about Calvin George Scott.
Nobody will know who you talk about Calvin Scott. You talk about Coco tea. Coco tea, not chocolate tea, not coffee tea, but Coco tea. But it's amazing. As you talk about Calvin Scott and Coco tea, there's a lyric, Jamaica man don't know people by them real name. That's a fact. There's a thing I see on social media. This guy must have come on the side. I work on a construction site and him say, say Yaawd Brown dropped them and dead last night. I said, Yaawd Brown. Who named Yaawd Brown? I said, Yaawd Brown, man. You know him, man. I said, nah, sir, I don't know nobody named Yaawd Brown.
Virgin George Brown.
Him said, Yaawd Brown, where you work with, man. Every day he eat lunch with the man. The painter, man. Him say, you mean painter? Him say, yeah, man. The painter you call him, say. Him say, you mean painter dead? Oh, painter for dead. Eh? Because as far as him know, painter, him know him as painter. But,
yeah, in a country where you're known, you're given a name based on how you look,
or your work, please,
or the kind of work you do.
If you have a little limp, the man them call it drop shot
or limpy.
No, drop shot them call it.
Or like my brother has a friend who is a machinist, and you know what his name is? Die Job.
Die Job was a racehorse, though. A big racehorse came on a spot. But seriously, that's all. Jamaica, a man.
You can't be thin-skinned.
Listen, you go to school and you pick up a nickname in a school, and if you resist it, it's going to follow you for the rest of your life.
And if you're Chinese, Japanese,
Mr. Chin,
Korean, nobody cares what your last name is. You're Mr. Chin.
Mr. Chin.
Yes.
Good Mr. Chin, sharp. Mr. Chin, you been down? No, Mr. Chin cross Mountain View and Jake's Road. Yeah. And everyone on the Mr. Chin, every shop where a Chinaman, all of them name Mr. Chin. Coco T. Now, he had connected with Junjo laws, and Junjo basically opened the gate. What Coco T pointed out to them, said Junjo was a genius in terms of, ear and eye for the direction of the music could go, but he wasn't physically involved. And he said eventually, over time, Junjo moved to New York.
Because that's where the action is, right?
Right. And him say it looked like while him go to New York, Junjo get mixed up. The
And that time, coke, crack.
Yeah, man, the white lady thing was going.
Yes.
And him say, Jonjo got arrested. And it kind of put a damp on him. So granted, though, most of his material, he was writing his own material. So it was like Jonjo was part of the creation of the material. I mean, it was depending on Jonjo for. So Jonjo put up the money, studio time, etc., and the distribution. But there were two other guys who did the legwork. But him say, Jonjo, he don't know why I'm getting to that, because it wasn't a case where Jonjo was short of money, But we know them things they were. The music at the time had an association. There was a tendency that a certain set of people always kind of hopped on to the music because it's a good it provided a good opportunity, especially have stage shows and things. We all know that enough of them outside money they fund stage shows and tours and all that sort of thing. But the bottom line though is that Jonjo went to prison in New York, and over time he had to kind of step back, came back to Jamaica, and reconfigured his approach. He picked up with
Jammers.
Well, before he went to Jammies, there was a guy down at Greenwich Farm. In fact, what's his name was on the same label, Cornerstone label, right? A guy named Chin, Michael Chin. He did an album for Mikey Chin, and a couple of tunes, and it was after that he moved on over to Jammies, where he did the album. What am I gonna do? Them can't stop Coco. Frankie Paul was also with him. Somebody else. There was I think Barrington Levy also did some work. So look at Cornerstone. Never heard about the label there before.
Yeah. But then 1989 rolled around, and looked like him did some 6-year stint in America, because 1974, not never gone. Then almost 1980, 6 years later, him the Big Iron, and not never gone again until 1983, and then 1989. There's a song called "Tune In" for Henry. For
you remember we were talking about Rockin' Dolly. Rockin' Dolly was released within that.
A slightly different version. I'll tell you this. Everybody know. Well, not everybody knows, but there are two versions of Shabba Ranks. Hola Fresh. I think it was a Hola Fresh. I don't remember. No.
The Red Man, the Hola Fresh.
No, actually Shabba Ranks did the original, and then Red Dragon.
Red Dragon, right.
Went and did, but there's Love Punani Bad. Mm-hmm. There are two versions. Producer Whitley did the first version, and then according to Dog newspaper, Jammies bad him up and take it from him, and so there's a point in the song where it says producer, and then Whitley name take out of that one. Yeah. That's a two version. I have both of them. But Tune In, done on the Far East Rhythm, 1989. Tune In. So there's a point in that where he hooked up with Music Works and Home T.
That's Gussie Clark.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Home T, all of those guys. They did a couple of them. There's Coco T, Home T, and Shabba Ranks.
Oh, that was a collaboration album.
And they did quite a bit of songs like Who She Love, Every Time You Go Away, Holding On, Turn It Down. Trust me, that was between 1986 and 1989.
What kind of surprised me a little bit was that the volume of work he did with Music Works, with Gussie Clark. It was a significant part of his career. I always thought that most of the time the work he was doing was with Jammies, because in fact when you dig into the material that is out there with him, it was more a case of the impression you get is that a Jammies kind of boss it, but it really wasn't Jammies. Coco without a doubt had a
Yeah,
whole heap of potential.
And the foundation, everything was laid through Henry John Jolars.
Right.
But the big hits, the monster hits, started coming. I mean, Rocking Dolly was a nice hit, and also Tuning was nice too. And Lost My Sonia was one of those songs. But when you talk about songs like Every Time You Go Away, all of that, like the Bridges rhythm, Bet Bus rhythm, Mr. Loverman rhythm, all of those rhythms where he really, really shined.
I think he did something on that Rumors rhythm too, right? The Gregory Isaacs, Rumors them spreading. With Gussie Clark.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was after the Stop Spreading Rumor that again, the same combination, Shabba Ranks and Home T.
Well, what we want to do is kind of treat the listeners and the viewers to a survey of that part of his portfolio. I mean, Coco T wasn't that slouch,
Yes. Turn it down.
Turn off the sound.
And time the pirate music was very, very big in England and time and the pirate radio station actually.
But as talk about pirate radio station, the messaging from this music though is a lot of it is more home focused because this was, as you said, 1985 to 89, that period, which was when the government had started to go after the sound system in Jamaica. If you remember, people like the dance that used to be done by Paradise Street, with on a Sunday night, what do you call it? The street dance right behind the prison.
What you mean, Raytown?
Raytown dance. That was one of the biggest lick in Jamaica generally and Kingston specifically. And by the time we got into the late 1980s, man, them started lock off the sound. If I'm not against them requiring that the sound system get permits for play and all of that, but you want to remember the culture associated with the sound system and how it impact the communities, right? Plus, the sound system was a big testing ground for the upcoming musician, the upcoming artists who, no different guy than when we just start Sunday schools. One of the things we realize is that the sound system was kind of the marketing base for Jamaica music. So an artist cut a tune and carry it up on the sound and the sound played.
It was tested the viability of a song before it was produced. Was it on soft wax, right. 10-inch, and then
you carry it, go to the nearest dance or the dance or the studio associated with, or the singer take him record and him get a feel if what is the crowd reaction, that kind of thing. The crowd balling for the record to be replayed. Sometimes the record's so good for the next 2 hours of the same record I play. And what that does is that it's set to the sound, the producer of the record, it's set to the songwriter, the singer. Go on do your thing. Eh?
Yes,
and I think
on the right track.
Yeah, I think
and that is what is to a certain extent missing today, where the dancehall is more about the DJ and songs which have already been recorded rather than trying to showcase new talents and testing out.
It also was a way to kick out some of the rubbish out of the music. So if you are a music producer and you come with a tune and it's not going away, say your career dead, because them don't have to go waste money for produce a tune and send it out there.
Yeah.
Because them say, boss man, go back to music school or whatever, go try to learn how to sing and how to think. So them not have to deal with you again.
And then too, the dancehall at the time too, with the artists like Coco T and the ones we mentioned before, Louis Lepke, Leave and Cleve, Barrington Levy, they got a chance to hone their craft and they got a chance to learn to present themselves to the public.
It wasn't just the
It
sound.
wasn't just YouTube.
Yeah, and them time they were YouTube. Well, I think.
Virgin, the only thing we know about YouTube them time is when one tire dump on a truck and you put a rotten banana trunk in it, the two stick and you push it along. That's the only thing you're YouTubing down the road.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yaawdmedia.com where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.